All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Coach's Corner. Again, this is me, Coach Malcolm, and that's Coach K with us. Again, normally our regular host. We don't have a special guest today, but it's your boys, so it'll be just perfectly fine rocking with us today. How you doing today, Coach?
Hey, doing good. Had a busy day for the both of us. There you go. There you go. Yeah, but we're doing good. Excited to get another episode of Coach's Corner in for sure.
100%. All right, let's go ahead and rock into it, Coach. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about this week 7 games that passed last Sunday. Obviously, we got week 8 coming up of games, and we'll give our preview to that, our predictions of that. But let's first talk about week 7. Let's start off with the fact that we had LA going against the Jaguars in London. Originally, I think I had picked the Jaguars to win that game, but BTA, of course, the Rams came in and did their thing, 35-7, no big deal. The Bears, they played the Saints. We both had the Bears winning. We thought it would be a much wider gap. I predicted that it would be 30. Well, I think we both kind of settled in on the 35-14 type of game, but it ended up
Yeah.
being 26-14. For a second there, it almost looked like the game could have been stolen by the Saints, but we ended up righting the ship and we got that done. But were there any surprises to you this past Sunday? I'll start with mine. Justin Fields ended up getting benched. That was a little surprising to me. Didn't necessarily see that one coming, but it happened. But now it is said that because of the injury to Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields will be playing this Sunday against Cincinnati. So we'll talk about that once we get to our predictions. But were there any shockers or anything that was surprising to you this past week 7, from the NFL
Yeah.
games?
Yeah. A couple of games. I know we both had the Texans winning, but the Seahawks won that game pretty comfortably, besides, the Texans making their little rally towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
I think the way the Cowboys beat the Commanders was crazy. Jaden Daniels got hurt again. Like I was saying earlier, on the halftime podcast, they need to be careful. They need to be really
Yeah.
careful with how they're treating the Jaden Daniels situation
Yeah.
because of course, nobody wishes it upon them, but they already had, a top quarterback go through their city and, have to retire early because of, or, not reach his fullest capability because of injuries, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
we don't want that in any case for Washington. Another game, I think Arizona played a pretty damn good game against Green Bay. It
Hmm.
was a pretty close game. Green Bay ended up pulling out the win with the last 2-minute drive there with Josh Jacobs running in for that touchdown. But hey,
Hmm.
the Cardinals, man, they don't have a good record, but all of their games have been one score losses. Like they're not losing bad. They are in all of their games they're playing. They're playing some pretty good football, and I think it's pretty telling of the coaching staff they have over there.
Yeah.
So if you're a Cardinals fan and you're saying, let's get rid of this coach, pump the brakes because honestly, he's coaching some pretty damn good football. You guys just need some more talent on both sides of the ball.
Yes, sir.
Um, my last surprise for the week was definitely the Broncos coming back in the way that they did, putting up 33 points
In
in the
one
fourth
quarter.
quarter. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was crazy.
Insane.
But as the perfect example of the Giants, playing not to lose that game instead of trying to win that game is what it was. So I think it's the perfect model for any NFL team watching that game that you really have to put your foot down and win the game instead of trying not to lose it. So
Yes. Yes.
that's my take. Those are my interesting games, kind of surprising games for the week. What do you got, Coach?
Like I said, I mean, that Denver game was a big surprise, coming back and winning in the fashion that they did. But at the end of the day, we at this point you just got to start saying these things happen, right? Anything is possible. I think, like you said, with the Giants, they played not to lose rather than just to finish it out. You got to finish through, right? One thing in like when I was doing cross country and I did track and field at times, the one thing that coaches would always say is like you got to run through the finish line. You know what I'm saying? Like run all the way through, finish your
Absolutely.
run all the way through. And it seems like a lot of people, I won't even just say, just sports in general, people in life, when they get closer to where they feel like is the end, they start to let their foot off the gas. And that's
Yeah.
sometimes how you miss the mark on things. That's sometimes how you cheat yourself out of being able to see exactly what you could have achieved if you would have just kept going at the speed and rate in which you were doing the entire time. But I guess Kansas City putting BTA on Oakland. I mean, I keep saying Oakland because I really want them to be the Oakland Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders just doesn't have the same ring. But Kansas City putting BTA on them, not necessarily a surprise, but I think them not scoring any points was a little like, okay, I didn't expect that, but I don't know what it is about the Las Vegas Raiders. They haven't decided to make a change at quarterback. I guess they're just comfortable with Geno Smith. They're comfortable with, I guess, potentially just kind of letting the season be what it is. Maybe they just look at this season as a way to just kind of rebuild, revamp culture, get a better pick in the draft. And maybe they look at some quarterbacks. Maybe they have an eye on a certain type of quarterback. I don't know. But it just feels like the Las Vegas Raiders are just kind of letting this season go as it goes. It doesn't look like they're working with any sense of urgency to try to do anything in this first season under Pete Carroll. So I don't know, but I wasn't expecting them to get such a BTA put to them. I wasn't expecting that. I knew that they would lose, but I just didn't think it was going to be like that. But other than that, nothing else was really much of a surprise outside of the Denver game. Justin Fields getting benched, which we'll talk about that when we get to our predictions. And then obviously the way Kansas City put BTA to the Raiders. Other than that, I think everything else kind of went how we expected a little bit.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
All right. Are you ready to move on?
Let's get right into it.
All right, let's get right into it. All right, let's talk about these Bulls. The Bulls won opening night against the Detroit Pistons. They pretty much had that game in balance for the entirety of it. Detroit made a run and made it scary towards the end, but eventually the Bulls pulled themselves together to pull that game out. My question for you, though, is based upon the things that you saw, do you think that this Bulls team has a chance to actually shock us this season and be actually better than we thought, be better than we assumed? Do you think they have a chance to really be good this season?
Well, I'm gonna start it off prefacing my whole kind of take on this just
Mm-hmm.
based on like I do truly believe that this is probably one like the weakest we've ever seen the Eastern Conference be.
Yes.
So I mean it is a little bit easier, I guess you could say, to even make a play in, as we saw last season, and to make a playoff.
Right.
You don't need to be as successful during the regular season, but I will say, I mean, that Bulls team, on Wednesday night, was definitely impressive at times, but I also saw it as them feeding off the energy of it being the home opener, kind of they have a chip on their shoulder. They got something to prove. They did finish on a pretty high note towards the end of that season, winning a lot of
Yeah.
their last games. I think the
Yep.
last 20 games, they won 15 of them. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, they played a really good second half of the season. So, um, I do believe that if they do have a strong start to the season, which I don't know it is likely simply because of the guys that are injured at this current time, and Kobe White and Zach Collins, if they do have a strong start to the season, I definitely see this team possibly sneaking into a seventh seed, eighth seed situation where they're playing, at least get two playing games, right? We know the Bulls are always play in bound for these last couple of seasons, so I'm not expecting any less than that, I should say. I think when Kobe White comes back, he'll be integrated just fine. I think that's maybe something the Bulls were missing down the stretch in that Pistons game was a guy that's just going to go and score for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think Josh Giddey did a pretty fine job that entire game facilitating the offense, but when it came down to it, he was making some pretty major mistakes, right? Turning over the ball at a rate that I'm honestly not accustomed to seeing him turn the ball over at, which is a
Yeah.
little alarming,
Yeah.
but Detroit is a pretty good defensive team, so take that as you wish. I'm telling you though, I think if the Bulls could get the Vucevic that played that Wednesday night every single night, there's no doubt in my mind they make the playoffs. But we both know the reality in that probably won't happen. The only way Vooch has a night like he did have is if he has a really strong start. Because we know kind of that second to third quarter time, his touches become really limited.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's something
Yes.
that I hate and has been going on ever since he's gotten here is that we stop giving him the ball for whatever
Yes.
reason, and then we
Yes.
give it back to him in the fourth quarter and expect him to pick up the same play he had in the first.
Yes.
Which, granted, he did. He did on Wednesday night, but that's not
But
going to
that's not
happen
how
every
it
night.
always works. Yes. No.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, there's definitely encouraging things from this Bulls team. I thought Modest played solid. I would like to see him knock down a couple more of those threes. But he did hit some in transition. He hit some open ones. He showed off his athleticism and ability
Yes.
to finish by the basket. He's been improving on going to his left hand, finishing on the left side of the basket, and
Yeah.
that's encouraging as well. So I don't know. I think, kind of what you said in your halftime show about, I think how you thought that Detroit game could definitely be a measuring stick for how this season could go for the Bulls. I definitely view that for tonight as well against the Magic. This is an opponent we play multiple times this season.
Yeah.
It's a team that we're always usually around, come playoff time, seeding wise. And it's always good matchups when we do play them. So I'm excited to see what Modest could do in a game like today, where he's definitely tasked with a tougher assignment both on the defensive end and has a tough assignment on the offensive end.
Yeah. I think for me, do I think the Bulls can shock us this season? I think their ceiling is a 7 seed. That's what I think their ceiling is going to be realistically. With Vucevic playing the way that he played this game, it's unfortunate to say this, but if he keeps playing like that, they're just going to trade him at a much higher mark.
Right.
They're just going to squeeze the value from it. I don't see Vooch staying on this team for the course of this season. So if Vooch is playing like that, and that is how he's going to play, and he consistently has been able to showcase that he can knock down the 3-point shot like he was doing against Detroit, which is something that I don't think he's going to continue to shoot like that. But if he does, great for us. I think it just speeds up the process in which he gets traded, and it'll probably happen right around the time Zach Collins is ready to return. That would make sense if they try to get a Vucevic deal done,
Sure.
because obviously they can do it way before the deadline. They could do it tomorrow if they want to because he's already been signed, so they don't have to wait until a specific date or whatever to try to trade him. I think with that being said, if that is going to be the case, then we also have to look at the fact that if you let go Vucevic, who then becomes that third scorer? That means more of the weight turns to Modest
And
to be
Giddy.
and Giddy, yeah, more of the weight turns to Modest and Giddy because obviously you know what you're gonna get from Kobe. So when Kobe returns, you're looking at it as being your scoring big two scoring punches coming from Vooch and Kobe. Obviously, those would be your two consistent offensive scorers. But if you let go Vooch, then now you're looking at it from a standpoint of Giddy and Modest have to really step into those roles of being that consistent second option next to Kobe. And I'm not prepared to say that that's going to happen just yet. I'm not prepared to say that Modest can turn into that true second option like that. And so if we end up trading Vooch because he's playing at such a high level, I think that definitely turns us back into a basketball program where you're really the seven seed is really, really, truly the epitome of what you can be. And if that happens, that's successful. I feel like that's a successful season. Would I be shocked? Yes. If we trade Vucevic and that happens. If we don't trade Vucevic and he stays for the season and we get 7, then I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Because I do think with Vooch on this team, Kobe coming back, and everything that we have, if everything stays in place, there shouldn't be a problem with us being able to get to that 7 seed spot. Like you said, we should be in a position where we get 2 play-in opportunities to make the playoffs. Now, do we get the 7 seed as the playoffs? I don't know. But with those 2 opportunities to make it, we should at least be able to win one of those play-in games to get us into the opportunity to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Without Vucevic, I think it becomes much harder. And I think that may be something that the Bulls will have to decide, like what's important. Is it important for these younger players to try to develop and work to try to get themselves to be a playoff team? Or do you stay consistent and allow with Vucevic to stay on the team to give you that anchoring that you would have in Vucevic to help this season stay afloat and keep going and have that consistency and stuff like that. But as far as how they played against Detroit, I will say that it was fun to watch. They got up and down. They did what they were talking about. They got threes up. Kevin Herter is still somebody that hasn't returned to the former in which he was when he got the nickname of being the Red Robin. when he was in Atlanta, his shooting still is a little spotty. It's not as consistent as you would like. I'm not happy about the fact that Io did not get the start over Trey Jones, so I don't really know what Billy Donovan is doing there. I guess that's because maybe he just thinks Io needs to be the spark off the bench, and maybe that's the reason why Io is not the starter. But that made no sense to me. Um, I didn't like the fact that Jalen Smith didn't get the start, but I guess you have to do it that way because Zach Collins is hurt. So I guess you can't start Jalen. I did not like the fact that Isaac Okoro started. I would have rather,
Hmm.
if you're gonna do it, I would have rather started iOS small forward and let Isaac Okoro come off the bench. I wasn't a fan of anything that Okoro did that entire game. I felt like he was just kind of in the way. And I don't know how long this is going to last with Isaac Okoro being a starter, but if he doesn't show more, then just saying he's out there to play defense will not be enough for me
Now,
as a fan.
I will say, yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. When I saw Isaac Okoro in that starting lineup, I'm like, dang. And I saw Trey Jones, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is this lineup that we're putting out here?
Yeah.
I will say though that I think this Bulls team really came prepared to play against Cade Cunningham, and I think that's ultimately why we won that basketball
Oh
game.
yeah,
I
they were
mean,
prepared for Cade.
granted, Cade, still put up 23. That's what he's gonna do, but he was 8 for 24 shooting. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, with 10 assists, but he wasn't as efficient as we've seen Cade be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Following night, which was yesterday, he put up 21 points, but on 7 of 16 shooting. So that's kind of what we're more accustomed to. I'm sure he's going to get things going, but I mean, kudos. I guess, uh, solid
Game plan.
game planning, right? If you're looking at it from Billy Donovan's perspective, and maybe that's why Isaac Okoro ultimately got the start because
Yeah.
him and Io are roughly the same size, but Cade is a little bit of a bigger kind of guard, you could call it, and Isaac Okoro definitely showed that he could, he was able to stick with him for sure and cause some trouble for Cade. So
Yep.
I saw after the game kind of why, but I also just didn't like anything Okoro brought other than that. He did nothing for us offensively, and I guess you have to have some trade-off when, you're getting a certain amount on defense. Maybe there's only so much you could expect on offense, but I don't know. I feel like we could have gotten even more production if Patrick Williams was in the lineup, for
Yeah.
example.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. I just I'm not feeling the Isaac Okoro thing. And I hope that Billy Donovan doesn't hold on to this because this is their little trade for Lonzo Ball and they have to showcase why they traded Lonzo for Isaac Okoro. I don't know the
Oh, we're gonna
politics.
yeah, we're gonna find out tonight who's sticking Paulo.
Yeah, that's I mean, who knows? Is this the game that we see the first touches for Noah Senge in times that matter, right? I think tonight is the perfect night where you use him.
Yeah.
Like tonight is the perfect night where you play Noah Senge,
This
right?
Magic team has a
In
lot of
moments like
length and
this.
height. Yeah.
Yeah, in a lineup like this, tonight is a perfect night. So I don't know. But we'll see. It looks like Billy Donovan, the way he talked is that he's going to be flexible about the lineups and everything like that is going to be a game to game basis. That's how he tried to put it. So maybe that's how he's going to do things. He's going to see who he's playing against, and based upon who they're playing against, that'll change the starting lineup time from time, game to game. So we'll find out tonight when they play Orlando at 6 o'clock.
Yes,
But
sir.
let's continue to move on, Coach. Let's talk about obviously opening week was this week with OKC, the defending champions. Unprecedentedly, they played two back-to-back games that went into two double overtimes, and they won both of them. The first was against Houston on ring night, and then they just recently played the Indiana Pacers as a finals rematch, and that went to double overtime without Tyrese Halliburton.
And with
Obviously,
Andrew Nemhart going down early in that game as well.
yeah, yeah, and hopefully he ends up being okay. But that game went to double overtime without Tyrese, without Andrew Nembhard. Now, granted, OKC doesn't have J Dub, but I don't know. I think, with that being said, OKC is still tough. They're still a good team. Obviously, with the championship, they're carrying that swagger with them now. They know that they can, get the job done at the highest level. And so when you have achieved that type of success in the NBA, it does give you a little bit more moxie. It gives you a lot more confidence. You don't get as rattled. and you can stay composed and things like that. And Shea obviously is still doing his thing, but the question I have for you is, do you think OKC actually has a realistic chance of being able to be back-to-back champions? And on top of that, how long can the NBA survive with allowing Shea Gilgeous Alexander to be at the free throw line 30 times a game? Because this is starting to get a little ridiculous. So
Yeah,
those
I
those
mean,
those are my two thoughts for you.
I'll start with that second one first because it's something I pointed out last season.
You did. You did.
And granted, getting to the foul line is definitely a skill, but it's a little excessive in my opinion with what calls he is getting and the things that he's able to get away with. Multiple travel calls that are not called, multiple offensive fouls that are not called, but yet here he is at the free throw line 30 times in one game.
Yeah.
A bit excessive. I think it's definitely something that's going to be addressed. There's going to be a league meeting at some point this season with the referees, and we see them kind of come into the season, each and every season with a new set of rules for each player, essentially.
Right,
How are
right,
we going to
right.
officiate this guy this season? It doesn't seem like they've changed anything for Shea. So I think the only thing that would necessarily change that this season is if it really, really starts to continue to be excessive. Um, but I think definitely next season is the time where they start kind of adjusting their calls. Maybe
Or do you
even
just put an
playoff
over
time.
under on how many free throws he's gonna shoot?
Oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk about betting because we know how much of a subject that is in the NBA now. But
Woo!
to go back to your first part of your question, I do think there is a real chance for this Oklahoma City team to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're strong at multiple levels. They have a great bench unit. They have multiple players that fill certain roles and that fill the same role, even, right? I mean, like when you look at guys that are coming off the bench, like even a guy like Cason Wallace, who's able to come off the bench and play point guard for you and
Mm-hmm.
give you true like grit defense off that bench unit is just shows how deep that Thunder team is. And um I don't think this season is going to be as hard for them to repeat as it was last season, as in to win the championship. Like
Got you. Got you.
I think this season, whoever they match up with it in the finals won't be as well equipped to compete with this Thunder team. Although there's one team that if they do make the finals, I think could definitely give them a solid run for their money. They've got a mayor election coming up, a very heated mayor election coming up, but I think the New York Knicks are probably the only team in this entire league that match up the best.
Fairly well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fairly
they do.
well against
They do.
Oklahoma City. We look at the Pacers series and be like, "Oh, if they just had all their guys back, they'd play the same way." I'm not too sure.
But losing Miles Turner was big.
I think that was huge for them, and I also think the pure fact that Indiana's style of play is so unique to their team. That was the only reason why they were able to compete in those games and
Yeah.
bring it to seven ultimately.
Yeah.
But going into this season, obviously they've got the injuries. Miles Turner ain't on the team anymore. Although Benedict Matherin's kind of taking, a next big step. We'll see how that ends up. But like I said, I think New York is the only team that gives them a run for their money, and I'm not too confident that they are able to make it out of the Eastern Conference simply because I'm not too much of a believer in some of those individual players to be able to perform consistently night in and night out in a 7 game series. We saw it last year. That's why they weren't in the finals.
Right.
So
Right.
I think OKC's path to a repeat or to winning a championship this year is definitely a lot easier than last year.
I'll say this. I think they have a chance to repeat, but I do think getting through the West will be much tougher this time around for them. But I do agree with you. If they do get to the finals, whoever comes out of the East, if they're not the Knicks, they're going to beat in like 5 games.
Yeah, I think so too.
So,
Yeah,
so
getting
uh,
out of the West is going to be tough, though.
yeah, getting out of the West is going to be really tough for them because there's a lot of teams in the West that look really good. Um, and San Antonio is going to be there. They're proving that they're going to be in the mix. Wemby is for real. The San Antonio Spurs are putting him in a solid position to be the guy. They have a good supporting cast around him that makes sense and will help him. And the coaching seems obviously when you got Popovich upstairs, and you got his training and his development of the coaching staff still in place, you're going to have a good situation. Houston, with their tall lineup, if they can figure some things out, only thing that I'm concerned about is how long they're going to keep Steven Adams as a starting center. I think you have to start considering moving Clint Capella into the starting lineup just so they can work those pick and roll situations a lot better because they get killed in pick and roll situations, especially with being tall. They're tall, but they're not quick. So they're using their length to try to help a lot of different things, but not being quick is going to be their deficit in pick and roll situations, especially if you're letting Steven Adams play drop coverage. So I think inserting Clint Capella will probably be smart for them as far as being able to have somebody that can work the perimeter as a big man and help with that. So if they make that change, which I think Ime may, then Houston is going to be a problem. Golden State is still going to be a problem. They look really good too. The Lakers, when LeBron comes back, I'm interested to see how that will work. But if it all comes together, they're going to be a problem. The Clippers, shockingly, don't look as tough as I thought that they were going to look. But, all things could turn around because I always got faith in Ty Lue. You always got Denver. So basically, all I'm saying is the West is going to be tough. The West is not going to be a cakewalk for OKC. But if they get through the West and they get to the finals, I agree with you. There's nobody in the East outside of the New York Knicks to have a chance. So really for them is getting out of the West. If they accomplish that, then they pretty much have another championship in the bag. So
Yeah.
we'll see. As far as Shea goes, I just hope they do have a meeting about these free throws because it's starting to get a little ridiculous. Last year, I was a little bit on the fence about calling him a free throw merchant, but this season, I'm just like, yo, this is insane. You can't really touch this guy. You can't do
Yeah.
anything to him, especially in crunch moments. You can't do anything to him. He gets off. He gets away with using his forearm a lot off those step back push off jump shots that he does. I'm waiting to see if they're going to start eventually calling those things offensive fouls, but they don't. So we'll see. But the free throw situation for him, they definitely need to have that conversation about should we be adapting some of this a little bit to not be so favorable for him at the free throw line for every single time somebody decides to play, some real pressured man-to-man defense on him, because it is a little absurd. And Indiana fell victim to that during their game when they kept getting a lot of calls called on them. I think they had like 2 to 3 guys that fouled out because of it. So it's going to be a problem if he continues to be able to do things like this all season. It's going to be a big topic of conversation. But if they can, if the NBA can get a grasp on that and figure that out, that would be good for my eyes as a viewer. But as far as what OKC does as a team, I think they have a chance to repeat. But like we're saying, they got to get through the West, and the West is not going to be easy for them to get through. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's continue, Coach. Let's finally get into it. Let's talk about it. This NBA gambling that's going on, and we don't have to be long winded about it if we choose not to. But right now, we got a bunch of guys. We got Damon Jones, a former coach who's been arrested. We got Chauncey Billups, who's been arrested. We got Terry Rozier, who's been arrested. Now, Terry Rozier's situation is different from what Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones were arrested for, but it's still NBA gambling nonetheless. You have Gilbert Arenas, former NBA basketball player, who was arrested maybe 2 to 3 months ago before all this came out for gambling and poker play and stuff like that on NBA games and stuff like that. So, and then we have conversations about people being at LeBron's house, gambling and different things like that. So maybe that's why sciatica is acting up so bad because we got to do some legal stuff in the background. Now that's my conspiracy theory just working itself out, but I think it's just interesting timing that all of a sudden sciatica is just really killing me. I can't play and I can't do things in the midst of guys coming out saying that they've been at LeBron's house and gambling, and Damon Jones has given information about LeBron James not playing because of injury and blah blah blah. So it's just very interesting. And then I also think it's interesting that around the time that all of this is happening, probably one of the most famous NBA gamblers of all time, Michael Jordan, is back in the picture. So I think, look, the history of gambling in professional sports all the way around has been a murky one, right? We've seen it in boxing back in the days of when the mafia was really high and really doing things in all type of cities, how they would pressure boxers into taking dives and losing fights and all type of stuff like that. And we got Tim Donaghy, the referee formerly in the NBA, who was purposely messing up games and fixing games and stuff like that in the NBA. We've had umpires in baseball who have been caught on gambling investigations and different things like that, cheating games and calling strikes and different things like that when it's not supposed to happen. So all the way around, gambling on sports has been a thing that has consistently been bombarded with mafia and mobs and mobsters and gangsters and extortion and all type of things like that. So when gambling came back to sports, I guess I'm just shocked that people are even shocked that these things are happening, that this is happening yet again, and that here we are with extortions and the mafia. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, we've seen this movie before when gambling was high in sports, where all of this stuff was happening to athletes before. You thought times changed. You thought people wasn't going to get back to their old ways, and the mafia was not going to get back involved in doing the things that made them the mafia and the mob. One of the things that made them the mafia and the mob in the first place. Like, duh. Like, this is what it is. So I think for me, I think it's I won't say it's BS or hogwash. I'm just at this point of like, why are we taking something so serious that we kind of assume was going to happen? And that's what's getting me a little alarmed. Now, as a fan, am I upset about hearing that there's people who are fixing games, there's people that's rigging games? I mean, yeah, but I'm also, like I said, a conspiracy person, and I've always felt like the NFL is scripted to some capacity, that the NBA is scripted, and a lot of the stuff that we see is entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a entertainment business, and so they're gonna skew things for the probabilities of what makes the most money. Like, Chicago wasn't supposed to get Derrick Rose. New York wasn't supposed to get Patrick Ewing. We know Cleveland was going to get LeBron. Like, it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like if we want to be honest with ourselves and be honest about a lot of things, if we really want it to be, we see a lot of BS and a lot of things going on all the time that we turn our blind eye to just to have the faith that everything we're watching is in its purity. It's organic. This is real and it has no thumbprints on it to make it a certain way. We love
Yeah, I mean, it
we
was just coincidence that the Mavericks ended up with the first round
Yeah,
pick, the
right.
first
Right
overall
after they
pick, you
trade
know?
Luca, it's coincidence that they get the first overall pick and get a chance to draft Cooper Flag of all players. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on. I mean, like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we really doing here? Like,
Oh
what what
man.
what are we really doing here? So I mean, like, I don't know. The NBA gambling situation, I don't think this is the end of the story. I don't think we end off with Chauncey Billups gets arrested and Terry Rozier gets arrested and Damon Jones gets arrested and all of this goes away and it goes into the quiet. I think this is much bigger than you and I. I think it's much bigger than Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier and Damon Jones. I think this is much so. I think this is so big that we're gonna start seeing NBA superstars and former NBA superstars having to come out and go and testify in court about whether they have or have not been a part of any situations where they were fixing games, messing up their games, purposely being injured, purposely not taking shots and doing all type of stuff. There's going to be so many players that's going to be a part of this that is going to get to a point where we just go, all right, well, I mean, if that's the case, what's happening here? Either we're going to get rid, it's going to get to a point where we're just going to say, well, we got to get rid of gambling yet again. But that ain't going to happen because the money that's being made right now on online betting, bet apps, and all type of stuff like that, it's too much money that's being made. So where do we go from here in your eyes? How does this play out in your mind? I know I said a lot, so I mean, and I'm giving you the table to go ahead and do your thing because I wanted to just get all my little thoughts out of the way real fast. Because it's for me, I'm not shocked, I'm not mad, I'm not upset. I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, what did you think was going to happen by bringing gambling back to sports?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's honestly like where I kind of preface my whole view is like it happened before, so we took it away. So now we're gonna bring it back and just expect it not to happen again.
Right.
with no different, limitations, no different regulations. It was kind of
Mm-mm.
just, oh, here you go. Here's your betting back on all these games. Yeah, go for it. FanDuel, awesome.
Hard Rock,
Yeah,
Circle
awesome.
Sports,
Cool. DraftKings,
right?
awesome.
DraftKings, Prize Picks, everything, everything.
Oh man, yeah. I think it's a particularly tough situation to be in if you're Adam Silver and any other of these commissioners in the league, because I don't want to get oh, okay. As much as I want to believe that these commissioners truly don't know what's going on, they know. They know what's going on. That's my view. I think they know, especially maybe not like the Terry Roziers. Maybe that's like, oh wow, like that's actually surprising. But again, if we're just gonna look at the NBA, like Derrick Rose to Chicago, LeBron to Cleveland, all of these things that just add up, like Cooper Flag going to Dallas after they trade Luca and everybody started putting hit lists on freaking um
Nico Harrison.
Nico Harrison, right? Like I don't know. There's gonna be another story that comes out soon about, probably this next draft. Whoever has the number one pick, it's gonna be something like, oh, well, he's actually from there, and all these other things. Like, it's a story year after year after year, and it's because the NBA is a business. The players say it, right? Like, whenever they get traded, it's like, oh, well, at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah, they're talking about it from multiple different perspectives of a
Yeah,
business. Like,
yeah,
it's not just a business in the fact that you're trash and you can't get playing time in the league. Like, nah, it's also a business because there are hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars being poured into these leagues in these gambling sites. And into all of these different scenarios happening just so we could
yes.
have a more entertaining league at the end of the day. And that's what it is. So I don't know. I don't want to go any further than that because I will keep myself away from any pressure and anything of that nature. But yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of smelly and stinky business going on within all these sports leagues. And it's honestly sad because, we do want to watch simply just the best athletes at their sport go at it and compete for the championship. At the end of the day, that's what sports is about. And money's getting in the way. It's already getting in the way in all
But
these
money's
professional
been getting
sports.
in the way.
Yeah, like for the longest time, like people try to talk about how the players now because they're making 200, $300 million that oh well they're not nearly as dedicated as I was when I was making $5 million. Charles Barkley, right?
Right,
But
right.
there was betting going on then. Like I don't I just don't understand where people are trying to take their arguments to with that stuff.
It's
But
for me. I'm just like Jordan left the game for a year and a half. Right now, I'm gonna be careful about this. Trust me, I'm gonna be careful. Jordan left the game for a year and a half. We assume and we respect that it was because of what happened to his father and how that emotionally took a toll on him. But at the same time, there were a lot of reports going on about Jordan's gambling habits and different things that was going on outside of basketball when it came down to Jordan's visits to casinos and different things of that nature. And David Stern, at the time being the commissioner that he was, who believed in backing the players as far as using them to promote the NBA as a product. You market the players, you market them as stars, and that's how you build the league. And David Stern was the practitioner and the original pioneer of making sure you turn the basketball player into a big star, and that's how you end up making the money. That's how you sell the shoes, that's how you sell the tickets, that's how you sell the merchandise, that's how you get the commercials and everything like that. So David Stern was the pioneer behind that. So like I said, Jordan left for a year and a half. We're gonna say it's because of his father, but we're not gonna pretend like there wasn't reports then about his gambling situation. Fast forward into now, we are not going to sit here and look at this and go, all of that stuff ended back in the 90s. I don't think gambling has ever went away from sports. Whether it has been a situation that it was legal or illegal, the place, the time, and the existence of extortion on professional athletes has never went away, whether gambling was something that was legal or not. What I want to find and what I want to see from the FBI or any investigators is at the end of the day, what becomes the purpose of doing all of this? Is the purpose to sue professional sports leagues on behalf of the people for allowing their employees to participate in non-organic and illegal activities to create un I guess inorganic results to games in which sports fans have betted on? Like, is the FBI's purpose is going to be that? Like, are you going to bring cases to these professional leagues for basically cheating out the people on true opportunities of being able to, gamble responsibly, bet legally, and bet under the pretenses that everything that they're watching is not doctored, not interfered with? If that's not the FBI's agenda, then you don't fix anything. So what? Chauncey Billups goes to jail. So what? Damon Jones goes to jail. And I'm not saying I want these guys to go to jail, but let's say, for instance, these guys do. That does not fix the issue with gambling in professional sports. All that's going to happen is make it so that these guys get smarter about doing it. They get better at doing it. So ultimately, what is the intent and purpose behind what the FBI is doing is my biggest concern and my biggest question, because I don't think this changes anything when it comes down to gambling in sports and the extortion of professional athletes. It changes nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically just making a spectacle about nothing that's going to change. So for me, I think it's a waste of time. I think it's useless unless you're going to actually sue these leagues for basically ripping people off. And if that's not the intent of the United States of America to sue the National Basketball Association, if that's not the intent of the United States of America to sue the National Football League, and so forth and so on, then save us the theatrics of he's working with the mob and illegal poker games over here and illegal poker. Like,
Oh, he was wearing these glasses.
yeah, he's wearing these glasses and 200,000 was over here, and save us the theatrics, bro. Because at the end of the day, that that's not gonna stop the train. All that's gonna happen is guys are gonna get smarter. The people that's really involved in handling things are gonna get better at what they're doing. And the three or whoever gentlemen's that get caught up in it that end up going to jail, they just end up being the guys who got caught, and that's all it ends up being.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you.
yeah, so I just think it's all I just think it's all for nothing ultimately at the end of the day. So we'll see how this turns out. We'll see how many more players get involved. We'll see how many more players get called, because I don't think this is done. I think a lot of players are going to end up getting, I won't say arrested, but I think a lot of players are going to get warranted to have to testify and talk about a lot of different things that they may not want to talk about. And I think that's what's going to be down the pipeline. We're going to start seeing a lot of guys in courtrooms giving their testimony and giving their words about whether or not they've ever been involved in sports betting, sports gambling, extortion, or throwing games. And that's going to be from players to referees. Because if the players are involved, you would be a fool to think that the referees don't, some of these referees don't have their hands in it as well. Because to mention an example, Chris Paul has famously noted that whenever he has Scott Foster as a referee, you can almost book that he's going to lose. And it's been shown over and over and over again from every place that Chris Paul has went, especially come the playoffs. If Scott Foster is the referee, you can pretty much book it that Chris Paul and whatever team he's on is going to lose that game. Now, with that being said, if the LA Clippers end up in a Western Conference Finals and it's Game 7 and Scott Foster is the referee, based upon everything that's happened, you might want to take the over. They're probably going to win it because it would be a shame if all of a sudden Scott Foster does it yet again. With all of this gambling stuff going on, it'll be the perfect time that all of a sudden Chris Paul gets a W. But then we could look at it and go, did he get the W because now we know about this gambling stuff? You see what? You see the BS? You see the
Yep.
BS that goes on? So at the end of the day, it's just like I don't know. I don't really understand what's the point, what this validates, or what their purpose is. Like I said, I think this is all for nothing. But I'll be interested to see exactly how many more referees, coaches, or whoever else will be a part of this, and how many more of them will get called to basically testify or not testify about what they've seen, what they've been a part of. But we'll see.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it at that, and we'll just see how this unfolds, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into the last bit of what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about this week 8 games that are coming. Obviously, we saw that the Chargers put BTA to the Minnesota Vikings, which I don't know if I picked the Chargers to win or if I picked Minnesota to win last time. But I didn't think that the Chargers would put BTA like this on the Minnesota Vikings, but it is what it is. So we know for sure that that game was won by the Chargers, but let's get into some more. We got Miami and Atlanta. What do you have for that one?
Taking Atlanta.
Okay,
Miami's a
Kirk
dumpster
Cousins is
fire.
starting this game, by the way.
Atlanta by a million.
Okay, because Miami is, I don't know what's going on with Miami, but it looks like they're going to be looking for their next quarterback soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Cincinnati and the Jets. Tyrod Taylor will not be starting. Cincinnati has Joe Flacco. Justin Fields will get his chance to play yet again as a starter for the New York Jets. Do the Jets figure it out against Cincinnati, Coach?
Cincinnati wins. And Jamar Chase has another insane game over Sauce Gardner. And people start to ask questions: is Sauce Gardner actually truly an overrated corner in this league?
Yeah, because that question is going to be that's going
It's
to be
been floating
coming.
around anyways,
Yeah,
so
that's gonna come full swing. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I think Justin Fields getting benched. Hopefully, this is able to wake him up a little bit. I think Aaron Glenn was obviously trying to send a message, and hopefully, this message was received. And I think the Jets will finally get their first W against the Cincinnati Bengals, which will kind of help turn their season around to being something that is manageable. I'm not saying it's going to be magical or anything special, but I think this game will be the pivot game that helps them, start to get a few more W's underneath their belt and they don't go winless. We got the Bears and Baltimore. No Lamar Jackson. I think Roquan comes back for this game.
I think he's back, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have three of our starting cornerbacks in Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, and Tyreek Stevenson. Um, I think we're also missing. I think our offensive line is okay, so I think our offensive line is all right. But we don't have DeAndre Swift this game. I don't think so,
I think he's
and I
still
think
playing.
Roshan Johnson is a little banged up too.
Yeah, I think Roshan's out. I think DeAndre's still playing.
DeAndre is going to still play. Okay,
I believe so.
so who do you have for this game? What's your prediction for the overall game?
I think it's a close game, man. Honestly,
This is a trap game to me.
it definitely could be, and going into the season, it shouldn't have been, just because I think going into the season, you definitely expected the Bears to lose this game. But
Yep.
even now with the Ravens team being 1-5 and the Bears being 4-2, the Ravens still come out as the favorites on this. But I'm gonna take my Chicago Bears. I think these next stretch of 5 games
Could
are
really set
very
us up to have a really good record.
absolutely, and I think they're very winnable against very winnable teams.
Yep.
And I think it starts with this game against Baltimore, and that we extend our winning streak to 5 games.
All right. Moving on. Cleveland and New England. I got New England.
Yeah, give me New England. Drake May has looked phenomenal this season. I'll tell you that much. But I don't expect as much of an offensive output this game as he has been putting out
No,
because
this is
we
gonna be a
know how
defensive struggle.
We know how that Cleveland defense is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
this Mike Vrabel coach team looks very disciplined and ready to kind of start to take back their division. So give me the New England Patriots, but in a very tight game.
All right, we got a well, not a conference. Well, I guess it's a conference matchup, but more so a divisional matchup between the Giants and Philadelphia. Give me Philly, but I'm just gonna say I would not be shocked if New York pulls this off. But I got
Yeah,
Philly.
yeah, I'm gonna take Philly as well. I think not to harp on our our betting or anything talk, but I think the officials have been in Philly's corner for the majority of this
Oh,
season.
don't say that because Coach Moon might give you a call.
No, but it's so true, man. Every time they tush push, that center reaches over the ball and the guards false start and they don't call it, man. I don't know, but Philly is a good football team. The Giants have proved that they could play good football, but I think they're going to be still really hung up on the loss that they suffered last week against Denver. So give me the Eagles.
All right. Houston and San Francisco. Houston is at home. They have a home stretch of games that they can play. I think the next three games for them are going to be at home. So I think they lose to San Francisco, but I think they lose in a way that gives them confidence to still keep this season afloat. But I got San Francisco winning this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the 49ers in this game as well.
All right. Buffalo and Carolina. I don't know why this game is being played. Bryce Young will not be playing. So I got Buffalo.
I'm gonna take Buffalo as well for sure.
Yeah. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Another one of those situations where I don't know why this game is being played. That NFC South division should just be thrown in the trash. But I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay because
Yeah,
why would you root for the Saints right now?
yeah, I'm gonna go Tampa Bay as well. I think this would be a good little bounce back game for them
Yeah.
from that pretty bad
Side
loss
note.
last week against Detroit.
Side note, really quickly. Do you think the Saints are trying to be as bad as they possibly can to get a chance to get Arch Manning? His grandfather had his career in New Orleans. So do you
I mean,
think?
it would make sense, but they got to get through the Jets. But who knows? Maybe it's another Manning situation where they don't let ours go to the Jets and he ends up in New Orleans. Who
Could
knows?
be. Could be.
Who
Could be.
knows?
Could be. I will be very interested in that situation because yeah, we don't have to talk about it now, but if Arch Manning is able to do the things that you would think that the NFL wouldn't allow based upon what happened in last year's draft, if Arch Manning and his camp is able to get away with certain things, that's going to look a little interesting to the fan bases of most people. All right, let's go. Tennessee and Indianapolis. I guess we got to roll with the Colts, baby. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm on your bandwagon now. I gotta just I just find
Welcome.
yeah, I gotta jump on board. They seem like they're for real. That you were pretty much earlier on just kind of like, no, this looks like a different Colts team. So I'm with you now. They look like they're doing something different over there. Them boys look like they're really doing something different. So I'm gonna go with the Colts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the
Give
Colts.
give me the Colts by a million. Shane Steichen has those boys playing tremendous football on
Yeah.
both sides of the ball. So, yeah, give me the Colts on this one at home.
All right, Dallas versus Denver. I think Denver is coming in hyped off of that win. Only difference is I think this Dallas Cowboys team is starting to become a little bit more balanced. Their offense obviously was leading the way, but I think the defense is slowly coming around, slowly but surely. So I'm gonna take Dallas in this one against Denver while Denver is at home. I'm gonna take Dallas for this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Dallas in this one as well. That defense has been getting more and more guys back week by week, and I think Demarion Overshown should be back this week as well. He's probably one of the better linebackers in this league, and yeah, I think they could definitely cause Bo Nix some trouble. I think Matt Eberflus, believe it or not, I think he could have a pretty decent game plan against a younger quarterback. He showed that
Yeah.
last week against Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
So we'll see what he could do this week. But yeah, give me the Cowboys in a pretty close game.
All right. We have Green Bay Sunday night game. Green Bay going to Pittsburgh to
God, I
play.
wish this was in Lambeau,
Yeah,
man.
that would have been great. But this
Oh
is in
man.
Pittsburgh against their former Hall of Fame quarterback and legendary quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. Who do you have for this one? This one is a little bit tough for me.
So honestly, coach, I'm liking what the Steelers are doing this season. They've looked pretty solid. They've been kind of a more quiet team for the
They're just a
majority
team
of the
that won't.
season.
They just don't beat themselves.
No, they don't beat themselves. They don't do a lot to lose the game. And I think it's really tough, extremely tough to win in Pittsburgh. And I don't know. I'm gonna have Aaron Rodgers getting a little get back against his former team, which helps the rest of the NFC North because then I believe Detroit moves up to one, Green Bay slides down to two, and if the Bears win this week, the Bears become the second seed in the NFC North. So
Yeah,
this game has a lot of implications on what playoffs might look like for the NFC and the NFC North specifically. So not only am I rooting for them, but I do think they are going to win this game. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers.
yeah. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers too. I think that they're just a team that's a little bit more composed, a little bit more grounded. They're not going to do things to mess up, and I think Aaron Rodgers is not going to come into this game with his ego. I think he's going to let his team win. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go into this game trying to prove anything, but I do think the opposite for Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is definitely trying to come into this game to prove why nobody should care about Aaron Rodgers anymore, and I think that's going to play to his detriment.
Hmm.
I think the Steelers are going to feed right into his ego. They're going to bait him into doing stuff that he shouldn't do, because he's going to be so filled with trying to prove, why he deserved to have been drafted, why he deserved to have made Aaron Rodgers feel a little uncomfortable, and why Green Bay was right in deciding to move on from Aaron in replace of him. So I think he's going to be too amped up to try to prove that, and I think it's going to come back and bite him in the butt. So I got
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
I'm with you on that. Yes, sir.
All right, and then Monday's night game is Washington versus Kansas City. I got Kansas City. I think Kansas City is on a roll. I think they're doing what they're supposed to do. But I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I don't think it's gonna be BTA like they did against the Las Vegas Raiders. But I still think that they're probably gonna win by two scores. Could be two touchdowns, could be a touchdown and a field goal, but I believe that they're gonna win by two scores. So I got Kansas City in this game. There will be no Jaden Daniels in this game as well.
Yeah, which was a shame. I would like to see him play at Arrowhead and
Against
see
Patrick,
how.
that would have been nice.
Yeah, that would have been dope, and I see why it was the matchup for that time slot. But
Yep.
surprised this game isn't being flexed for a different game.
I'm surprised
But
it's not being flexed for maybe.
but to be fair, it's a Monday night game, so I guess it's a little bit different. If it was a
Yeah,
Sunday night game, they'd probably be inclined to flex it. But
if
since
it
it's a
was a
Monday
Sunday
night
night
game,
game,
yeah, if it was a
yeah,
Sunday night game, they would have flexed it probably. But
yeah.
you
But
know what?
because
That's
it's a
fine.
Monday, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't. It's hard to flex Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift out of a primetime slot. So, yeah, give me the Kansas City Chiefs winning this
It's
game.
really
I
about
think
Taylor
pretty.
Swift. It's really
Yeah,
about
it
Taylor
is.
Swift.
It is. But I got the Chiefs winning pretty convincingly. I think that Washington offense, not only the offense, but I think the defense is going to struggle in that game.
Yeah, the Washington defense needs some help. Uh, they have to reinvest some money into that defensive line. I don't think they took the time out to really realize that they lost Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So I think that they're gonna have to do some reinvesting in the draft and stuff like that. They have to rebuild a little bit. And I won't say rebuild, but they have to do some fine tuning. That team needs to do some fine tuning to try to turn it around. I think they were just a little bit ahead of the schedule last year, and that caused them to be a little bit more passive this offseason. But everything works out for a reason. But
I will
specifically for
say Terry McLaurin and Debo Samuel are back for
yeah, I
that
know
Monday
they're
night game.
active,
So,
but it makes no difference because your
yeah.
quarterback isn't Jaden Daniels. So but we'll see. I don't know. I could be shocked, right? The Broncos scored 33 points in one quarter. Anything is possible.
Yeah, we'll see. We will
So
absolutely see.
But I got Kansas City for that game. And that wraps up our predictions for week 8. Coach, um, yeah, this was great. This was great. We want to quickly say to our producer at Audio Hive Productions, Brian, we hope that he's all right. We weren't able to get in this weekend because he had some things going on with himself and his health a little bit. So we hope that he's okay. I hope that everything is all right. We'll probably get in touch with him sometime this weekend just to see if everything is on the up and up. But again, this gives us another opportunity to do the coach's corner, which is something that we are still going to do. We just, hopefully we can plan it where it's not in cases of emergency, like like it was this time around or
Yeah.
whatever. But with that being said, Coach, anything you want to leave him out with?
I got I got 4 words for you.
Okay.
And it's the same 4 words we repeat at the end of every single podcast video. You already know the 4 words, coach.
What? See red and bear down?
Yes, sir.
All
Come
right.
on,
Well, ladies
man.
and gentlemen,
Come on,
this has
man.
been Coach Malcolm,
It's been Coach Conrad.
and this has been an episode of Coach's Corner, not the halftime podcast, but Coach's Corner being an extension of the halftime podcast network. You're always gonna get us, and hopefully we can start getting more guests and stuff like that with the Coach's Corner, because that's gonna be around the corner where we start inviting more guys to be a part of it. But with that being said, as always, like Coach K saying all the time when we leave the halftime podcast, it's see red, bear down, and peace, blessings, and prosperity to you all.
Yes,
Peace
sir.
out.
Peace out.